Hello, and welcome to the Western Canon Challenge, where we are reading the entirety of the Western Literary Canon out loud. Today we are continuing in Studies in Classic American Literature by D. H. Lawrence. We are on Chapter 2. This particular essay is on Benjamin Franklin. And with that, I'll get started. The Perfectibility of Man. Ah, heaven, what a dreary theme! The perfectibility of the Ford car. The perfectibility of which man? I am many men. Which of them are you going to perfect? I am not a mechanical contrivance. Education. Which of the various me's do you propose to educate, and which do you propose to suppress? Anyhow, I defy you. I defy you, O society, to educate me or to suppress me according to your dummy standards. The ideal man. And which is he, if you please? Benjamin Franklin or Abraham Lincoln? The ideal man, Roosevelt or Porfirio Diaz? There are other men in me, besides this patient ass who sits here in a tweed jacket. What am I doing, playing the patient ass in a tweed jacket? Who am I talking to? Who are you at the other end of this patience? Who are you? How many selves have you? And which of these selves do you want to be? Is Yale College going to educate the self that is in the dark of you, or Harvard College? The ideal self. Oh, but I have a strange and fugitive self shut out and howling like a wolf or a coyote under the ideal windows. See his red eyes in the dark. This is the self who is coming into his own. The perfectibility of man, dear God, when every man, as long as he remains alive, is in himself a multitude of conflicting men. Which of these do you choose to perfect at the expense of every other? Old Daddy Franklin will tell you. He'll rig him up for you, the pattern American. Oh, Franklin was about the first downright American. He knew what he was about, the sharp little man. He set up the first dummy American. At the beginning of his career, this cunning little Benjamin drew up for himself a creed that should, quote, satisfy the professors of every religion, but shock none, end quote. Now, wasn't that a real American thing to do? That there is one God who made all things, but Benjamin made him. That he governs the world by his providence, Benjamin knowing all about providence. That he ought to be worshipped with adoration, prayer, and thanksgiving, which cost nothing. But me no buts, Benjamin, saith the Lord. But that the most acceptable service of God is doing good to men, God having no choice in the matter. That the soul is immortal, you'll see why in the next clause, and that God will certainly reward virtue and punish vice, either here or hereafter. Now, if Mr. Andrew Carnegie or any other millionaire had wished to invent a God to suit his ends, he could not have done better. Benjamin did it for him in the 18th century. God is the supreme servant of men who want to get on, to produce. Providence, the provider, the heavenly storekeeper, the everlasting Wanamaker. And this is all the God the grandsons of the Pilgrim Fathers had left, aloft on a pillar of dollars. That the soul is immortal, the trite way Benjamin says it. But man has a soul. There you can't locate it either in his purse or his pocketbook, or his heart or his stomach or his head. The wholeness of a man is his soul, not merely that nice little comfortable bit which Benjamin marks out. It's a queer thing, is a man's soul. It is the whole him, which means it is the unknown him as well as the known. It seems to me just funny, professors and Benjamins fixing the functions of the soul. Why, the soul of man is a vast forest, and all Benjamin intended was a neat back garden. And we've all got to fit into his kitchen garden scheme of things. Hail Columbia. The soul of man is a dark forest, the Hercynian wood that scared the Romans so, and out of which came the white-skinned hordes of the next civilization. Who knows what will come out of the soul of man? The soul of man is a dark forest with wildlife in it. Think of Benjamin fencing it off. Oh, but Benjamin fenced a little tract that he called the soul of men, and proceeded to get it into cultivation. Providence, forsooth, and they think that bit of barbed wire is going to keep us in pound forever. More fools them. This is Benjamin's barbed wire fence. He made himself a list of virtues, which he trotted inside like a gray nag in a paddock. 1. Temperance. Eat not to fullness, drink not to elevation. 2. Silence. Speak not but what may benefit others or yourself. Avoid trifling conversation. 3. Order. Let all your things have their places. Let each part of your business have its time. 4. Resolution. Resolve to perform what you ought. Perform without fail what you resolve. 5. Frugality. Make no expense but to do good to others or yourself, i.e., waste nothing. 6. Industry. Lose no time. Be always employed in something useful. Cut off all unnecessary action. 7. Sincerity. Use no hurtful deceit. Think innocently and justly, and if you speak, speak accordingly. 8. Justice. Wrong none by doing injuries or omitting the benefits that are your duty. 9. Moderation. Avoid extremes. Forbear resenting injuries as much as you think they deserve. 10. Cleanliness. Tolerate no uncleanliness in body, clothes, or habitation. 11. Tranquility. Be not disturbed at trifles or at accidents common or unavoidable. 12. Chastity. Rarely use venery, but for health and offspring, never to dullness, weakness, or the injury of your own or another's peace or reputation. 13. Humility. Imitate Jesus and Socrates. A Quaker friend told Franklin that he, Benjamin, was generally considered proud, so Benjamin put in the humility touch as an afterthought. The amusing part is the sort of humility it displays. Imitate Jesus and Socrates, and mind you don't outshine either of these two. One can just imagine Socrates and Alcibiades roaring in their cups over Philadelphian Benjamin, and Jesus looking at him a little puzzled and murmuring, "Aren't you wise in your own conceit, Ben?" "Henceforth be masterless," retorts Ben. "Be ye each one his own master unto himself, and don't let even the Lord put his spoke in. Each man his own master is but a puffing up of masterlessness." Well, the first of Americans practiced this enticing list with assiduity, setting a national example. He had the virtues in columns, and gave himself good and bad marks according as he thought his behavior deserved. Pity these conduct charts are lost to us. He only remarks that order was his stumbling block. He could not learn to be neat and tidy. Isn't it nice to have nothing worse to confess? He was a little model, was Benjamin, Dr. Franklin, snuff-colored little man, immortal soul and all. The immortal soul part was a sort of cheap insurance policy. Benjamin had no concern, really, with the immortal soul. He was too busy with social man. 1. He swept and lighted the streets of young Philadelphia. 2. He invented electrical appliances. 3. He was the center of a moralizing club in Philadelphia, and he wrote the moral humorisms of Poor Richard. 4. He was a member of the all-important Councils of Philadelphia, and then of the American colonies. 5. He won the cause of American independence at the French court, and was the economic father of the United States. Now, what more can you want of a man? And yet he is infra dig, even in Philadelphia. I admire him. I admire his sturdy courage, first of all, then his sagacity, then his glimpsing into the thunders of electricity, then his common sense humor. All the qualities of a great man, and never more than a great citizen. Middle-sized, sturdy, snuff-colored Dr. Franklin, one of the soundest citizens that ever trod or, quote, used venery, end quote. I do not like him. And, by the way, I always thought books of venery were about hunting deer. There is a certain earnest naivete about him, like a child, and like a little old man. He has again become as little child, always as wise as his grandfather, or wiser. Perhaps, as I say, the most complete citizen that ever, quote, used venery, end quote. Printer, philosopher, scientist, author, and patriot, impeccable husband and citizen, why isn't he an archetype? Pioneer, oh pioneers, Benjamin was one of the greatest pioneers of the United States. Yet we just can't do with him. What's wrong with him then? Or what's wrong with us? I can remember when I was a little boy, my father used to buy a scrubby yearly almanac with the sun and moon and stars on the cover. And it used to prophesy bloodshed and famine, but also crammed in corners it had anecdotes and humorisms with a moral tag. And I used to have my little priggish laugh at the woman who counted her chickens before they were hatched and so forth. And I was convinced that honesty was the best policy, also a little priggishly. The author of these bits was Poor Richard, and Poor Richard was Benjamin Franklin, writing in Philadelphia well over 100 years before. And probably I haven't got over those Poor Richard tags yet. I rankle still with them. They are thorns in young flesh. Because although I still believe that honesty is the best policy, I dislike policy altogether. Though it is just as well not to count your chickens before they are hatched, it's still more hateful to count them with gloating when they are hatched. It has taken me many years and countless smarts to get out of that barbed wire moral enclosure that Poor Richard rigged up. Here am I now in tatters and scratched to ribbons, sitting in the middle of Benjamin's America, looking at the barbed wire and the fat sheep crawling under the fence to get fat outside, and the watchdogs yelling at the gate lest by chance anyone should get out by the proper exit. Oh, America! Oh, Benjamin! And I just utter a long, loud curse against Benjamin and the American corral. Moral America, most moral Benjamin. Sound, satisfied Ben. He had to go to the frontiers of his state to settle some disturbance among the Indians. On this occasion, he writes, "We found that they made a great bonfire in the middle of the square. They were all drunk, men and women quarreling and fighting, their dark-colored bodies half naked, seen only by the gloomy light of the bonfire, running after and beating one another with firebrands, accompanied by their horrid yellings, formed a scene the most resembling our ideas of hell that could well be imagined. There was no appeasing the tumult, and we retired to our lodging. At midnight a number of them came thundering at our door, demanding more rum, of which we took no notice. The next day, sensible they had misbehaved in giving us that disturbance, they sent 3 of their counselors to make their apology. The orator acknowledged the fault, but laid it upon the rum, and then endeavored to excuse the rum by saying, "The Great Spirit, who made all things, made everything for some use, and whatever he designed anything for, that use it should always be put to. Now when he had made rum, he said, 'Let this be for the Indians to get drunk with,' and it must be so. And indeed, if it be the design of Providence to extirpate these savages in order to make room for the cultivators of the earth, it seems not improbable that rum may be the appointed means. It has already annihilated the tribes who formerly inhabited all the sea-coast." This, from the good doctor, with such suave complacency, is a little disenchanting, almost too good to be true. But there you are, the barbed wire fence. Extirpate these savages in order to make room for the cultivators of the earth. Oh, Benjamin Franklin, he even used venery as a cultivator of seed. Cultivate the earth, ye gods. The Indian did that as much as they needed, and they left off there. Who built Chicago? Who cultivated the earth until it spawned Pittsburgh, PA? The moral issue. Just look at it. Cultivation included. If it's a mere choice of culture or cultivation, I give it up. Which brings us right back to our question. What's wrong with Benjamin that we can't stand him? Or else, what's wrong with us that we find fault with such a paragon? Man is a moral animal. All right, I am a moral animal, and I'm going to remain such. I'm not going to be turned into a virtuous little automaton as Benjamin would have me. This is good. That is bad. Turn the little handle and let the good tap flow, saith Benjamin, and all America with him. But first of all extirpate those savages who are always turning on the bad tap. I am a moral animal, but I am not a moral machine. I don't work with a little set of handles or levers. The temperance, silence, order, resolution, frugality, industry, sincerity, justice, moderation, cleanliness, tranquility, chastity, humility keyboard is not going to get me going. I'm really just not an automatic piano with a moral Benjamin getting tunes out of me. Here's my creed against Benjamin's. This is what I believe. That I am I. That my soul is a dark forest. That my known self will never be more than a little clearing in the forest. That gods, strange gods, come forth from the forest into the clearing of my known self, and then go back. That I must have the courage to let them come and go. That I will never let mankind put anything over me, but that I will try always to recognize and submit to the gods in me, and the gods in other men and women. There is my creed. He who runs may read. He who prefers to crawl or go by gasoline can call it rot. Then, for a quote-unquote list, it is rather fun to play at Benjamin. 1. Temperance. Eat and carouse with Bacchus, or munch dry bread with Jesus, but don't sit down without one of the gods. 2. Silence. Be still when you have nothing to say. When genuine passion moves you, say what you've got to say, and say it hot. 3. Order. Know that you are responsible to the gods inside you, and to the men in whom the gods are manifest. Recognize your superiors and your inferiors according to the gods. This is the root of all order. 4. Resolution. Resolve to abide by your own deepest promptings, and to sacrifice the smaller things to the greater. Kill when you must, and be killed the same. The must coming from the gods inside you, or from the men in whom you recognize the Holy Ghost. 5. Frugality. Demand nothing, except what you see fit. Don't waste your pride or squander your emotion. 6. Industry. Lose no time with ideals. Serve the Holy Ghost. Never serve mankind. 7. Sincerity. To be sincere is to remember that I am I, and that the other man is not me. 8. Justice. The only justice is to follow the sincere intuition of the soul, angry or gentle. Anger is just, and pity is just, but judgment is never just. 9. Moderation. Beware of absolutes. There are many gods. 10. Cleanliness. Don't be too clean. It impoverishes the blood. 11. Tranquility. The soul has many motions, many gods come and go. Try and find your deepest issue in every confusion, and abide by that. Obey the man in whom you recognize the Holy Ghost. Command when your honor comes to command. 12. Chastity. Never quote-unquote use venery at all. Follow your passional impulse, if it be answered in the other being, but never have any motive in mind, neither offspring, nor health, nor even pleasure, nor even service. Only know that quote-unquote venery is of the great gods, an offering up of yourself to the very great gods, the dark ones and nothing else. 13. Humility. See all men and women according to the Holy Ghost that is within them. Never yield before the barren. There's my list. I have been trying dimly to realize it for a long time, and only America and old Benjamin have at last goaded me into trying to formulate it. And now I, at least, know why I can't stand Benjamin. He tries to take away my wholeness and my dark forest, my freedom. For how can any man be free without an illimitable background? And Benjamin tries to shove me into a barbed wire paddock and make me grow potatoes or Chicagos. And how can I be free without gods that come and go? But Benjamin won't let anything exist except my useful fellow men, and I'm sick of them. As for his godhead, his providence, he is head of nothing except a vast heavenly store that keeps every imaginable line of goods, from Victrolas to cat o' nine tails. And how can a man be free without a soul of his own that he believes in and won't sell at any price? But Benjamin doesn't let me have a soul of my own. He says I am nothing but a servant of mankind, galley slave, I call it. And if I don't get my wages here below, that is, if Mr. Pierpont Morgan or Mr. Nosy Hebrew or the grand United States government, the great U.S. of some of us, manages to scoop in my bit along with their lump, why, never mind, I shall get my wages hereafter. Oh, Benjamin, oh, Benjamin, you do not suck me in any longer. And why, oh why should the snuff-colored little trap have wanted to take us all in? Why did he do it? Out of sheer cussedness in the first place. We do all like to get things inside a barbed wire corral, especially our fellow men. We love to round them up inside the barbed wire enclosure of freedom and make 'em work. Work, you free jewel, work, shouts the liberator, cracking his whip. Benjamin, I will not work. I do not choose to be a free Democrat. I am absolutely a servant of my own Holy Ghost. Sheer cussedness. But there was as well the salt of a subtler purpose. Benjamin was just in his eye-holes, to use an English vulgarism, meaning he was just delighted, when he was at Paris judiciously milking money out of the French monarchy, for the overthrow of all monarchy. If you want to ride your horse to somewhere, you must put a bit in his mouth. And Benjamin wanted to ride his horse so that it would upset the whole apple cart of old masters. He wanted the whole European apple cart upset, so he had to put a strong bit in the mouth of his ass. Henceforth be masterless. That is, he had to break in the human ass completely, so that much more might be broken in the long run. For the moment, it was the British government that had to have a hole knocked in it. The first real hole it ever had, the breach of the American Rebellion. Benjamin, in his sagacity, knew that the breaking of the old world was a long process. In the depths of his own underconsciousness, he hated England, he hated Europe, he hated the whole corpus of the European being. He wanted to be American. But you can't change your nature and mode of consciousness like changing your shoes. It is a gradual shedding. Years must go by, and centuries must elapse before you have finished. Like a son escaping the domination of his parents, the escape is not just one rupture. It is a long and half-secret process. So with the American. He was a European when he first went over the Atlantic. He is in the main a recreant European still. From Benjamin Franklin to Woodrow Wilson may be a long stride, but it is a stride along the same road. There is no new road. The same old road, become dreary and futile, theoretic and materialistic. Why then did Benjamin set up this dummy of a perfect citizen as a pattern to America? Of course, he did it in perfect good faith, as far as he knew. He thought it simply was the true ideal. But what we think we do is not very important. We never really know what we are doing. Either we are materialistic instruments like Benjamin, or we move in the gesture of creation from our deepest self, usually unconscious. We are only the actors, we are never wholly the authors of our own deeds or works. It is the author, the unknown inside us or outside us. The best we can do is to try to hold ourselves in unison with the deeps which are inside us. And the worst we can do is to try to have things our own way when we run counter to it, and in the long run get our knuckles rapped for our presumption. So Benjamin contriving money out of the court of France. He was contriving the first steps of the overthrow of all Europe, France included. You can never have a new thing without breaking an old. Europe happens to be an old thing. America, unless the people in America assert themselves too much in opposition to the inner gods, should be the new thing. The new thing is the death of the old, but you can't cut the throat of an epoch. You got to steal the life from it through several centuries. And Benjamin worked for this both directly and indirectly. Directly at the court of France, making a small but very dangerous hole in the side of England, through which hole Europe has by now almost bled to death, and indirectly in Philadelphia, setting up this unlovely, snuff-colored little ideal or automaton of a pattern American. The pattern American, this dry, moral, utilitarian little Democrat, has done more to ruin the old Europe than any Russian nihilist. He has done it by slow attrition, like a son who has stayed at home and obeyed his parents, all the while silently hating their authority, and silently in his soul destroying not only their authority, but their whole existence. For the American spiritually stayed at home in Europe. The spiritual home of America was and still is Europe. This is the galling bondage, in spite of several billions of heaped up gold. Your heaps of gold are only so many muck heaps, America, and will remain so till you become a reality to yourselves. All this Americanizing and mechanizing has been for the purpose of overthrowing the past. And now look at America, tangled in her own barbed wire and mastered by her own machines. Absolutely got down by her own barbed wire of shout-nots, and shut up fast in her own quote-unquote productive machines like millions of squirrels running in millions of cages. It's just a farce. Now is your chance, Europe. Now let hell loose and get your own back, and paddle your own canoe on a new sea, while clever America lies on her muck heaps of gold, strangled in her own barbed wire of shout-not ideals and shout-not moralisms, while she goes out to work like millions of squirrels in millions of cages. Production. Let loose and get your own back, Europe. This is the end of Chapter 2 in the essay on Benjamin Franklin from Studies in Classic American Literature by D.H. Lawrence. In the next video, we will proceed to Chapter 3, which is an essay on Hector St. John de Crevecoeur. Thank you for listening.